Welcome to this presentation for Kilted Ancestors. Kilted Ancestors is a private Facebook group set up as a meeting place for those with Scottish ancestry. Regardless if you research your own family history or not, preserving the stories handed down by your parents or grandparents is so important. The group is an amazing place to not only share the challenges faced in your own research, but to obtain inspiration to tell the story of your own family's journey. 2022 is Scotland's Year of Stories, and during this year, Claire Wilson and Christine Woodcock will be bringing a whole host of free events and activities to group members, many of them via Facebook Live events. You can join the group by searching Kilted Ancestors on Facebook, or if you would like to subscribe to the newsletter, visit www.treehousegenealogy.co.uk/Kilted Ancestors. Taking things that bit further, Claire and Christine have also set up a quarterly virtual conference named Kilted Culture, which again embraces Scotland's Year of Stories. This is based on 4 separate themes and has some really amazing guest speakers. You can book 1, 2, 3, or all of the events, and if you book all 4, you will obtain a free bonus event which will show you how to pull your own family story together. You can view details of the speakers and topics and book now via Christine's website at www.genealogyvic.com. And let's move on with today's speaker.
I would like to tell you today about the power of stories. Stories can bring back a past, or they can take you into your imagination to go into your future, and they can also access a child's imagination. My name is Claire Miller, and I am a professional author and the story creator. I have also had the most exciting journey in my life to publish 4 children's books. The book I'd like to tell you about today is a book which is called I Can Create Stories. And in this book, children can read, draw, listen, and create stories. Now, this book came about because I was working with children in the local primary school where both my daughters went to, and I was working with a group where I would ask them questions about a character which they had drawn for me in a game I played with them, where you take a folded piece of paper and you fold it into 3 sections. The first section, you draw the head, and then you fold the paper down and you move it to the person to your left or to your right. In the second section, you draw the body of the character, and then you fold the paper down again. And the third section, you draw the feet. And the children that came along had such great fun, particularly when I was playing a game with them, because the end of the reveal is I'm going to them, you have to wait, and then going, now you can open up the bits of paper, and they'd open it up and they'd have a good giggle and a laugh at their characters. And I would then ask them, so what does your character like and dislike? So do they like cheese? Do they like going out in the rain? And just to get a bit more of a feel for the character and to know how the character would react in any given situation. Then I'd ask them, like, where does your story start? And we'd get through all the bits of the story, and then I'd feed that back to the children. And then they had the exciting bit of actually drawing their own picture. And it was lovely to see the artwork that they were coming up with. And then I take their artwork home, I take the story information home, and I would write the story and then put it together in a book. Very much something that looked like this. And this was their work. So because children in the school kept coming back to their time with me, I wanted to give children outside of school environment an opportunity to do that. And I had 4 stories lying around at home, and I went, it's okay, I'll publish this book. And when I was doing this, I met a very special friend who I'd like to introduce you to. So this is my friend, and this is Serena. Serena the Penguin. And this Serena the Penguin is the guide to the children, for the children in my book, I Can Create Stories. And Serena came about because I needed a guide for the children, because my inner child was going, words are boring. You need to give me someone to help me through these stories. And I had tried drawing a penguin, and I tried really hard, but the ideas that were in my head didn't exactly match up to what I could draw on paper. And my younger daughter said, but Mum, penguins are easy. And I went, okay, draw one then. So she got a bit of paper and a pen. She did that, she drew it, and it was like, okay. And that's how Serena was born. So we have Serena the Penguin. And Serena the Penguin, you can see her here, helps the children to know when to read a page, when to know how to get the audio files that should go in my book, and when to actually do some drawing. And the one thing that I had discovered that is that children love creating stories, but they don't all do it the same way. Some children like to read. Other children like to actually listen and use their ears. Other children will go, well, I can draw you a picture, but I don't write stories. So this is what my book is all about, because there is an audio file, the audio files for the stories in the book which come with the book. So it is possible, for example, if there's a child who, let's say, for example, they are visually impaired. I didn't want that child to be disadvantaged or to discover that they couldn't access the stories. I have also run creative writing workshops for children and adults. And I've had lots of fun because I've had soft toys going up and down and round and all over and on roller coasters and everything. And the one basis for which I also have basis on it is that when both my daughters were growing up, they both had very different experiences of actually accessing stories. My eldest daughter, Molly, picked up reading very quickly, was reading Harry Potter by primary 5, and she just got it like that. My younger daughter took a bit longer and would not describe herself as a reader. So I always want to encourage children in particular to get stories down or to tell a story or whatever it is in whatever way they choose and whatever their most natural method of doing that is. So as I say in this book here, children can also, they can read stories, but they can also create their own stories. So I have a picture here of a paint palette there. And these are in there are other sheets like this in the back of the book, and the words underneath the paint palette are what colours are in your imagination. So it's to encourage the child to create stories in whatever way they want, be it drawing, be it words, even by telling a story. So really what I'd like to encourage you to do is, if you have a story, for example, from your childhood, you could, if you wanted to tell it to your child, if you have your child could say, Granny, what did you do when you were actually a child yourself? Like, what happened to you on Christmas Day? Because I know what happens to me, but what happened to you? And there are a number of ways to help children access stories. One of them is actually to take a soft toy at night time or at any time and go, right, I'm going to tell a story. What do you think happens with this toy? And where do you think this toy is going to go? And are they having an adventure? And who are they meeting? So they can verbalize a story, and you can verbalize a story to the child. Other children will be very happy to write, and you might find that you're hard pressed to stop them writing because at bedtime, for example, because they're having such a great time. And other children will draw you a picture, and pictures are stories. So it's really important to recognize that just words are not just a story. Words are a means to getting a story out there. So if you have say you found a bit of your family history that you think would be interesting to your child, and you talk to your child and they go, that's great. You can sit and talk to each other, and or you can write something together and just explore your imagination. And the benefits of doing this, be it a made up story or something from your family history that you've actually discovered, is that whoever's telling the story, their confidence actually increases. And I have watched this happen, and it's just amazing, because I gave a review copy of I Can Create Stories to a wee 8-year-old just to check that it all worked the way I thought it worked, because I get very close to my work, and after a certain point I can only see what I think is on the page rather than what is actually on the page. And she actually hand wrote me a letter to say thank you. And I got that through the post, and I had was like, wow, she really did that. It was like amazing. And she would have bought my book for £1,000,000, and she wanted to stay up all night to actually read the whole book. She read 2 of the stories, and then her parents had to make her go to bed. Now, I've talked to the dad, and apparently this wee girl, who was normally very shy, actually rushed into school with the review copy as to show her teacher. And that just, I can't describe how that is. It just is so much, oh, it's amazing. So I would just like to encourage you to think about stories in whatever way you think about them, or the person you're talking to thinks about them, because they might not interact with stories the same way you do. And encourage you to explore the world. Listen to stories, talk about stories, write stuff down. It doesn't have to be big, complicated stuff. 2 sentences, make a story. So just go ahead and try it and have fun. Most of all, just have fun with stories, because it's the best place to be, whether it's in your imagination from something you've created out of sort of like just an idea, a fictional idea, or something from facts that you've discovered from your family history. Because in particular, writing about your family history can actually bring that to life now, and also gives your family a record of for future generations, and that's just amazing to have. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope you've really enjoyed what I've had to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Claire. That was fab. I
Okay.
think you know, it's one of those things as well that you think, you know, it is true. Some children will write a story and others will draw a picture. You know,
Yes.
here's their grandparents and this is my mum and my dad, and you know, and they'll colour it all in. So every kid tells things in their own way as well.
They definitely do. When I've been working in workshops, there are some children, boys in particular, who go, I don't write stories. And I can imagine their teacher going, right, okay, reading. Oh, we've got, kind of like, but what I did with them was I said, well, do you like comics? So they like comics.
Yeah.
So that they actually, I said to them, well, what you need to do is just draw in a comic strip, just, divide your page up. And I got them to actually tell me about it. And they were telling me a story. It's just not writing it down on the page.
Yeah. And that's it, because stories take different forms, don't they?
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
really
Yes.
do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's great. I mean, I think we were talking before we came on to record that I still have, we used to do daily diaries when I was at school.
Yes.
And I still have copies of jotters that have my daily diaries. But the other thing that I've got is the jotters that my gran had in the 1920s. And it tells you all about, she'd handwritten it all, how they did laundry. And she obviously was doing ironing and housekeeping type things that we're getting. But I mean, these are things that can be handed down, as well. So
yeah, well, it gives you an insight into someone's life, particularly if it's your gran. It's the additional thing, interesting thing there is it's your family history from all the way in the past, and it brings that person back to life.
yeah.
Their background back to life, and when they are sadly no more with us, you've still got them. You've got their thoughts, their feelings, what they did, and it's somehow, it keeps them there.
Yeah. Yep, that's it. So I think there's something to be said for, writing your own experiences down and handing it on to your children or your grandchildren when you're not here.
Yeah, well, the other thing is that when they say, but you never did that, Mum, and you go, excuse me, it's here. Did? I'm not quite as that old fuddy-duddy as I look, really.
That's it. And I mean, I think as well, I mean, I don't have any kids, I've got a niece and a nephew, but I know that, when you talk about things to them and life, life is so different from one generation to the next.
Yes, yes.
And there's sometimes you tell stories to kids and the wide eyes, and they're fascinated sometimes by things. So it is trying to take that, wide-eyed moment and get them to actually write it down.
Yeah, 'cause the other thing is that if you've got a child that, say, doesn't view reading as something that's really an interesting thing to do, imagine they've got a book and they go, it's a book. Some children just don't engage with books as this, that if you start talking about your family history or asking them to make up a story, whatever you're choosing to do, you might then just spark the interest and they'll go, oh, there is something there.
Yeah.
And if their toy wants to go off to, I don't know, to Lollipop Land, I mean, actually I'm in Lollipop Land, that okay, but kind of like, what kind of lollipops would they meet and who would they meet there and what kind of adventures would they have? And you might just get that one trigger that just gets them interested in it, and it does make a difference in a child's confidence.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to watch. It really is.
Yeah. Okay, that's amazing. But thank you so much for coming on. We have a slide which comes up that's got Claire's details and a website on it. Claire is a member on the Kilted Ancestors Group, so feel free to reach out and speak to her if you have any questions as well. And thank you again so much, Claire.
Thank you.